Tales from Africa. The Ghost Bird. From the Zulu tribe in South Africa. This is a legend about those small white birds that most people call tick birds. They are seen everywhere in the South African veld, often sitting upon the backs of cattle and other grazing animals. In marshy places where the tall reeds grow, the tick birds build their nests by the hundreds, and sometimes, when the sun is setting, you can see these birds flying slowly in its path, always searching. Long ago, they were known by another name, ghost birds, and this is how it was so. In the old days, the birds were not white as they are now, but they were red. They had red wings, red beaks, and red legs. The first of these red birds appeared in the veld after a long flight from another land. It had flown so far that it was exhausted, and it fell from the sky almost dead with tiredness and thirst. It fell near the village of a Zulu boy named Ndiphi. When Ndiphi saw the little red bird, he ran at once to the spring for water. He filled a little jar with the cool water and brought it back to where the red bird lay on the ground. He opened the bird's beak, and drop by drop he let a little of the water trickle into the poor, parched throat. Then he placed the bird in the shade of a mimosa tree, and after a while he brought some dried corn, which he crushed into meal. He held it in his hand, and the bird ate a little of it. Thus, Ndiphi saved the red bird's life. From that day on, the red bird and Ndiphi were close friends. Wherever the boy went, the bird followed. If Ndiphi happened to lose any of his playthings and was unable to find them, he would call the red bird, who would soar above the fields, looking this way and that with his sharp eyes until he found the missing objects. One day, when Ndiphi was walking in the fields, a deadly spider hung from a web in his path. Ndiphi didn't see it, but the sharp eyes of the red bird missed nothing. The bird plummeted from the air and snapped up the spider in his beak, saving Ndiphi's life. In many ways, the red bird rewarded Ndiphi for his kindness, and their friendship grew stronger and stronger. But alas, sad things were to happen in that part of the country where Ndiphi lived. A terrible drought fell on the land. Day after day, as the big hot sun burnt down on the country, the rivers and streams, they dried up. Even the reservoir behind the big mud dam dried up. The maize, once so straight and green, turned into withered stalks. The once fat oxen became thinner and thinner, and their bones showed through their skin. There was less and less corn to eat, and less water to drink, and still there was no sign of rain. At last the headman of the village called the people together and said, "We must leave this place, the home of our ancestors, and find a new home where there is water to keep the people alive. Feed yourselves, then, on some of the corn that is left, but eat sparingly, for we must have food for the journey. Of all the things we own, we will take only our cattle. Everything else must be left behind. My heart is sorrowful. Now carry out my commands." The next day the people began their long journey. When Ndiphi's parents were ready, however, Ndiphi could not find his little red bird. He searched and he searched, but he couldn't find the bird anywhere. He scanned the sky, but saw nothing. "Come, little Ndiphi," his mother urged. "The others are a long way ahead of us." Ndiphi was heartbroken, but they could wait no longer. He joined his mother and the other women and children who were driving the oxen in front of them. But while he walked, Ndiphi watched the sky, hoping for a sight of the little red bird, which never came. What had happened to the bird was this. Seeing the distress of the people, he had set off on a long flight to look for water. For many hours he flew, looking for a spring or a pond or a brook, but there was no water to be seen. So planning to make another flight later, he returned to the village. But when he arrived there, he found the village deserted. There wasn't a scrap of corn left, nor a drop of water to drink. Weary and thirsty from his long flight, the red bird lay down and died. But a strange thing had happened. The next morning, when the sun came up, a pure white bird arose from the spot where the red bird had died. This ghost bird soared into the sky and began to search for Ndiphi's people. After flying for some time, he saw some oxen below, and slipping down, it was soon among them. Standing on the back of one of the oxen, the ghost bird asked if they had seen Ndiphi. "The people left us behind because they had no water," the cattle said. "Travel in the direction of the setting sun, and you will find them." The ghost bird flew on in the direction of the setting sun, and whenever he saw cattle on the veldt, he would come down and ask for news of Ndiphi and his people. Always he received the same answer: "Fly toward the setting sun." At last, however, he saw no more cattle. He flew on and on, trying first one direction, then another, but the people of the village were not to be found. To this very day, the ghost birds fly to earth whenever they see cattle. They perch themselves on the backs of the oxen and ask the same question, "Where is Ndipi?" And always the answer is the same, "We don't know. He disappeared in the west." But the ghost birds, they never give up. They go on, forever searching for Ndipi and the Zulu people and the path of the setting sun.